everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our channel, Paws On Animation, another anime podcast.
Today we're covering the original Trigun anime from 1998.
Now, after watching Trigun Stampede in 2023, we really wanted to see what the original anime was like. And to our surprise, it's a completely different anime.
Yes. And before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, and notification please on future podcasts and one of the pause videos.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us, for subscribing, sharing our videos. We really appreciate it so much.
Yes.
And we wanted to say that we originally began watching this particular series by a recommendation of one of our friends on Twix, Cold.
Yes.
He made a lot of posts on this and Stampede and
several other animes as well mixed
Samurai
in.
Champloo.
Yeah.
And some others, and we finally got to this.
Yes. So we really wanted to see just how the two animes really compare, because we just watched Stampede on its own to not be affected. Because sometimes when you watch the original and then see the remake, you see there's things you don't like, they change, and it affects you enjoying it. So we just, okay, let's just see the remake first, then go backwards. Because we enjoyed it so much, we had to see what did they take from the original to make this one. Because, as you know, the Stampede was a huge success for the studio.
Definitely. Now, for those of you not familiar with it, Trigun originally is based on a manga written by Yashiro Naito.
Mm-hmm.
And this anime series, the original, ran from April of 1998 to short run,
yeah,
but 26 episodes.
Right.
It was directed by...
What do you want from me?
Such an excuse for killing! The person writing it, not the manga writer.
Right.
Licensed exclusively to Crunchyroll, but it did eventually end up running on Toonami.
Yes. That seemed to be one of their, I guess, highlights of the evening when they did their Toonami nights, like we used to have now. So for here, we watched originally the first 3 episodes of the original series. Surprised to find out, like you said, 26 episodes and a movie made in 2010. So we started with the series, and it is like insanity in itself.
It's set in the fictional planet, or on the fictional planet known as No Man's Land.
Oh, gosh.
So, this has no base in reality. And the plot, of course, follows Vash the Stampede. And we finally learned what Vash, where his name Vash came from,
yes,
which is hilarious. And he's being followed by 2 women, Millie and Meryl,
yes,
who work in this version for an insurance company.
Right.
And he's a liability.
Right. There is no Roberto De Niro, and there's no news reporter in this version. I'm like, okay, I'm starting to see where they got similar things from here.
So what was really interesting about this, they did keep, is that like the Stampede, he's supposed to be different in this version from cowboys in Western movies by avoiding killing enemies and instead exploring the characters involved. Well, that changed a little for this one. In Stampede, he doesn't kill anyone,
period,
throughout season 1.
Right.
But, spoilers if you've never seen this series, we were shocked to see him actually do it in this original.
Yeah. And it doesn't come up till like near the very end of run, like when it only has 2 to 3 episodes left. And we did see with people who watch the original that it starts off with a majority filler, so you get to know the characters, and they have some really comedic episodes, some mixed with action, sometimes a little sad, but it stays pretty even tone. But by the time it starts getting to the last 10 episodes and they start bringing in Million's Knives, they start to get pretty dark. So dark that there's almost no comedy as you're watching. And by the time it gets to the last 3 episodes, you're lucky there's any humor in there before it gets to the final episode.
It's really almost like they put 2 different anime together.
Yeah.
Because you only know it's the same show because of the characters who are in it.
Right.
And as you mentioned, when it started off, it was hilarious. The worst scene in here for me that made me creepy crawly is Vash on all fours like a cockroach laying on the ground. What the heck is that?
Oh, what is that?
And in this version, he's a womanizer.
Oh yeah, I remember he couldn't do that in the other one.
He was hitting on all the women. He was making lewd comments. He was touching women in places.
Oh my gosh,
and we were
that was
stunned
hilarious.
Because in Stampede, he's such a good boy.
Yeah, he don't say anything disrespectful to women the whole time. You just didn't even know he liked Meryl until like the end of the season. Right. So it's just like, oh gosh,
well,
this is a whole.
The same in here.
It's the 180.
But I see the same in here with Meryl. You don't know he likes her till the end.
Right.
But yeah, he's a womanizer in here, and everyone knows he's a womanizer.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because in here Meryl still gets angry, and it's like
she actually hurts him.
At least in here, she had a valid.
Right.
And she was still angry.
Right. It's just like because he was irritating, I guess. But what is with you?
So it's really nice to get to meet Millie in here because in Stampede we're not going to meet her until season 2.
Right.
And you really like her character.
Right. She's a huge softie there. She's like, she kind of sounds like Fluttershy if Fluttershy was like 6 feet tall. Mm-hmm. And throughout the series, you kind of just see these little misadventures of Vash as he goes throughout this planet, and then Meryl and Millie follow him, unwillingly most of the time. And
Meryl must.
Which it is funny because we actually see in here where the humanoid typhoon thing came from. In Stampede, they do tell you, but they have to do it faster. And here, they finally build up to it. And the very first episode, there are people looking for him. But here's the biggest difference between this and Stampede. In here, no one really knew what Vash looked like. People had to go on descriptions that varied from person to person. The only things that were to stand out is that he had a big gun, he wore a big red overcoat, and had blonde hair. That's Vash's Stampede, but there is no picture. So anyone that had those descriptions to them was Vash's Stampede. And they could find him, tell him, oh no, you got the wrong guy, possibly believe it, and then go somewhere else without any picture proof. Well, they fixed that with Stampede, like everyone's got his picture in, and it looks just like him, but Vash doesn't think it looks like him. It's like, what do you think you look like? And to me, one of the most hilarious things in here is that everybody in here, when they're shooting at Vash, is like worse shots than stormtroopers. First episode, they shoot up an entire bar he's sitting in trying to kill him. And they use up probably 1 million bullets. And by the time they're finished, Vash is still there, but the entire bar and everyone in it has been evaporated into oblivion. It's like, how do you miss the one man in the bar
and a bright red coat?
Right. It's like,
and his hair standing on end.
Yeah, and he was still sitting there like nothing hit him, not scratched on him. I was like, how are you this bad of a shot? You need to retire your gun.
So you see some of the same events that happen while he's traveling occur in here that happen in Stampede.
Right.
But you get a lot more explanation in background.
Right.
And then you also get to meet Wolfheart.
Yes. Yeah. Well, oh, I'm sorry. Wolfwood. I'm sorry.
I keep calling him Wolfheart because of Sylveon.
Oh, no, you
and
did.
Flynn. Yes, Wolfwood.
Yes. Wolfwood in here looks very different from Stampede, as you can tell.
Everybody looks different in here. Sorry, people. These characters do not look the same.
Oh my! Well, it was
sure
98.
They're indicative of the style in that time.
Right.
But now they look really weird, and Meryl's clothes are so ugly.
Oh no,
and
you didn't.
I can't wait to see what Millie's wearing. And Vash's clothes definitely got an upgrade, and so did Meryl's, and so did Wolfwood's in the new series.
Right. It's absolutely hilarious seeing it. And I'm like, oh my god, this is where this came from. This is where that came from. This is where this came from. This is where this changed. And for us, when watching this, we could see that the ones who made Stampede really truly loved this show, because almost everything that was in here in some way, shape, or form was used in Stampede, down to little details and niches and stuff and the things characters say and plot arcs. Somehow in just 13 episodes, they captured a lot of this show. Definitely. And with Wolfwood, there was actually a big thing about him that wasn't revealed until near the end of the series that we didn't know was actually already part of the story. Mm-hmm. And two other things we didn't know were part of it was that he already had the big gun that looked like a cross just wrapped up, and the fact that...
And there was a lot of little derringers
right.
in his cross, just like Meryl carries in her coat in this version.
Right. And the other thing would be is that he actually had his own orphanage where he took care of kids and had money to take care of them. While in Stampede, he is from the orphanage. So it was kind of funny how they worked in all these original bits into the new one. It was probably one of the most fun parts of watching the show.
Now for Wolfwood, what made us really sad, spoilers if you've never seen it, is in Stampede, he takes the solution every time he gets injured, so he heals.
Right.
But in here, toward the end, they actually kill him off, and we were just staring at the screen, shocked, not thinking this was going to happen.
Yeah,
but it did.
Yeah, and unfortunately became like a dark humor to me. Not the fact that he got taken out in here. We were not happy with that. But with Stampede, it's like the people writing him were so pissed that they killed off Wolfwood that they literally made up a new thing where he keeps coming back like Wolverine and heals himself. So every time he gets shot, he's immediately healed so he can't die. They were that pissed off that they just wrote in where he can't die.
And we're happy. We're very, very happy that they did that upgrade.
Right.
Especially for David Machanga.
Right.
So yes, that was really disappointing. And in here, we don't meet Knives until almost the end of the series. You get like a quick shot of him and him making a comment
and
in an episode.
And a whole flashback episode to when they were kids.
But I mean, as far as in the present, you don't see him to the end, and he is not a joke. And he is not nice.
No.
And he's not a hot guy that loves his brother bullcrap.
No.
Sorry.
Both. Go ahead.
They're violent.
Yes!
Both of them.
Yeah, I was surprised, like, oh, they didn't change anything. He's just even more psycho somehow in Stampede because he's got the technology to mess with people instead of just shooting them. It was like, you made him worse somehow?
And clearly in this version, neither of them can die because they shot up each other horribly.
And nothing happened.
And they didn't die.
They just fix themselves up and keep going.
Right. So that was a surprise. But yeah, the Knives fandom, you know, it's okay. You love who you like. But after seeing this original version of him, I don't understand how anyone's in love with Knives.
I don't know either. And I was so stunned. Like, okay, he's set up like this. Well, maybe this is from the original. Or maybe there's some part I missed where, okay, they got little jokes in here. No, this guy is loony in the original.
And he began that way as a kid. When they were still in their young form.
Yes.
He was a murderer from that point.
Yeah. And so they kept that pretty much intact with Stampede. We just got more information on what happened to the other people that were on board with the ship. So the Project C's thing was intact in both versions. They just somehow made like a tragic sci-fi opera with Stampede and elevated their duality somehow even more. So again, they really captured this show well, and it's no wonder that Stampede ended up blowing up because this really kept true to the spirit of this one, because this was exciting as if we were watching it the year it came out.
Yes, it was fantastic. It was, as you said, exciting, fantastic. We didn't know what was coming for everything because, again, this was the original.
Right, and we never read the manga either.
Right, so a lot of things surprised us. And I want to say one more thing on Knives.
Oh my God.
He is a murderer the entire series. He
Yes.
does not stop. From the time he's first shown, flashback he's shown, the end he's shown, he has been murdering this entire series.
Yeah, that part didn't change at all. And
But it's worse here.
Yeah,
You
somehow
have to
worse
say
in here,
It's worse in the original than it is in Stampede.
I guess they tried to
tone it down.
Yeah, a little bit, because, in here they got away with quite a bit. And then it brings us to Vash when it gets to the voices. And
But before we get to the voices, I have to read this because there's no way either of us will remember it without practicing on ad nauseum, and I don't want to do that. So we were told Vash's name once in here. I don't know if it's going to come up in Stampede in season 2, but someone asked him, what does Vash stand for?
yes.
And I'm going to read it. Vash's Stampede is a sentient plant known as a humanoid typhoon due to the destruction which surrounds him. His full name is Valentinez Alcalanella Zyfax Skiba Bohertz Gamba Gobia Blue Stradivari Talon Trent Pierre Andre Carton Hamos Ivanovici
What the
Aldius George Doitsi Kaiser III.
Wow, there is no way that there's no driver's license.
Vash works.
You're like, give him a Vash, that's
So
it.
now you know. He just called himself Vash. After,
The
I guess,
Stampede.
the first 4 letters.
Yeah.
Oh my
You're like,
god.
oh, wow. Like, okay, yeah. That, no wonder you don't say the whole name. 'Cause it would take like 10 minutes to finish.
And I was laughing so hard when I read this.
No wonder they say Vash the Stampede over and over again because it's got to make up for all those words.
And I guess Rem named him that.
Yeah, it's like why'd you give him like
And then
20
she
names?
named the brother Millions Knives. It's like,
Where
okay,
did-
we kind of get where you got knives from. You knew somehow he was a murderer. And
Right.
because she told Vash when she closed herself off in the ship, she said, take care of knives.
Yeah.
And he didn't understand at first. He thought she meant to take him out. But then he realized when they were shooting each other up that she meant to literally take care of him.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah, a
But
lot of
she
that's
knew
in here
something was
too.
wrong with him. She knew, and it showed you the type of person she was without going into a lot of syrupiness and explanations.
Yeah, right.
She loved both of them like her own children, and even though how Knives was, she still loved Knives.
Yeah, and I think that was kept in both versions very, very well because it was the same feeling we got from the other one.
Now to the voices.
Yes. Now in here, everyone but Vash is completely different voice from Stampede. And one thing that is sticking out to us the most is that Johnny Young Bosch is both versions of Vash. And Mama can never get over the fact that it's him in both versions. And it's like decades, a 20-year difference, and it's the same guy.
But he did 2 totally different voices, which was brilliant. They sound like 2 different people. But in both versions, he sounds really, really young.
Yeah.
Now, in this version, he's got a more comedic tone.
Right.
And he's more goofy, and he
Right.
makes more strange sounds. And it fits the design of the character and the behavior. In Stampede, he's got a different voice. Sorry, people, he's got
Right.
a sexier voice that matches how they made him
And this-
sexier. And for those of you saying, but he's over 200 in Stampede,
Right.
and he's over 150 here, so
Right, so
get
they
off our butts. But he matches the
Oh.
voice of both characters perfectly.
Yeah.
And that's a testament to his brilliant voice acting.
Right.
Because he knew where to take the voice for both characters.
Yes.
And they
And-
both fit perfectly.
Right. So, regardless if you've seen the original or the new one, you end up liking both performances.
Yes.
And it's even more hilarious because the more you see new Vash, the more you see why this blew up so much that people were losing their minds over him. Like, imagine this in the 90s, and it's just multiply that times 10 with Stampede. They lost their minds when they saw this new version, and they're like, this is his new design? Can we watch this show now?
And yes, it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
And the casting was perfect. So it had to be really exciting for people to watch this as they were watching it back in 98.
Right.
So let's give a brief shout out to the voice cast.
Right.
As we mentioned, Johnny Young Bosch
Right.
is Vash, and we have Dorothy Elias Bond is Meryl Streep.
Mhm.
And on Twix, she actually had a picture of she and Johnny Young Bosch saying, "Oh, we're together again."
Yes, that
And
was pretty
then
cool.
we have Nicholas D. Wolfers, voiced by that's the Japanese, Jeff Nimoy. Yes, the name's familiar because he's a cousin of Leonard Nimoy.
Oh, no way.
Millions Knives was voiced by Kirk Bailey.
No way, okay.
Young Vash, it doesn't say who does Young Vash. And the
Oh.
rest, really, they show the entire Japanese cast. One surprise in here is Matthew Mercer voices various characters.
Right, so you couldn't tell where he was going to come from.
No, but the casting is perfect. And, Michael McCarthy, Paul Carr, Sandy Fox, and also Mona Marshall, who's
Right.
also a big, huge voice actor on South Park.
That's it, okay.
And also appearing here, there are a few more people.
Oh, it was Steve Blum, Bob Pappenbrook, and there was one
And
more.
his wife,
Steve Blum's wife?
Mary Elizabeth. Yeah, before she became Blum, Mary Elizabeth, her. You know who
Yeah.
she is, guys.
Yeah, you know.
She was in here as well. So there were a ton of people who did guest voices and did various characters, like
Right.
Matthew Mercer did. So this was before a lot of them were huge.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, around the same time, Steve Blum was in here. He was also voicing Spike in Cowboy Bebop.
Right, so there you got a connection right there.
Mm-hmm.
And it really goes to show, once again, how huge this fan base is. It was already big to begin with. You had people that love this anime, like Cowboy Bebop, for decades, still loving it, talking about their favorite thing, making fan art. It ended up having a resurgence with Stampede, and it showed just how much the people behind Stampede really loved the works of Naito in the manga and in the anime, because not only did they get all these new people to join the fandom, they got all the original people who love the original show to get on board with this. Because we know sometimes when they do reimaginings and reboots, they end up being a hit or a miss, most of the time miss. But here, this was like Voltron levels of getting everything right and adding something new. They surpassed everyone's expectations, and it's all thanks to this original anime.
Definitely.
So it is really worthy to be one of those legacy animes with Cowboy Bebop.
A few comments before we go. The anime is frequently listed as one of the best anime series, and many magazines have given it awards. Also, it's funny you mentioned that about Cowboy Bebop, because Russell of Escapist magazine back in 2016 said Trigun is very often overshadowed by his close cousin, Cowboy Bebop, which is sad because it's truly a delight to watch.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing we constantly have heard critics criticize is fascist pacifism.
Yes.
And it's heavier in Stampede than it is here, because like we said, he ends up killing.
So, yeah,
but
it ends up being
Stampede,
gone.
Season 1, he's more pacifist in there than he is here.
Right. And they also intricately use with the original where Vash somehow is able to not get shot majority of the show. He can dodge, or they just are horrible shots or something, and he fights back. If he shoots something else indirectly to stop them.
But when you finally see his body, you can see all these scars and injuries where he is actually being injured.
Yes.
And it's not like he's scot-free like the Winchesters.
Right.
And when you see him
like,
next, he
just
has
leave
no
scars.
injuries.
Yeah.
He has a ton of scars all over his body.
Right. And then when you have with Stampede, they still have him where he has scars, but the new thing they add is that he sort of does all of these defensive moves like a martial artist, so he can always like deflect people's punches and everything. And even add a thing where they love when he dances around sometimes. Some of the moves are so fluid and weird. Looks like he's dancing and dodging and blocking, so there's more than just moving away from the shot. There's all these other defenses to avoid throwing a hit or shooting. So they really nailed it, like I said, to me, just about both versions. And the original, while, like you said, up until the end, he remained pacifist, I guess, maybe to counteract that criticism. They wrote that in there if that was in the manga.
In season 2, we're not sure.
Yeah.
But so far, yeah, that's the biggest criticism that people have had since it aired
and
in
I think
1998.
they kind of wanted him to shoot somebody. I guess they said it would be fast if he just got it done and over with. So, well, yeah, no, that was back then. So
the ending of this is left open. Again, if you haven't seen it, spoilers. After Vash and Knives shoot each other up, Vash comes to, picks up his brother, puts him over his shoulder, and how you find out he does love Meryl is he goes back to the town where Millie and she were waiting for him.
Yeah.
And Millie tells him he's gonna come back. Just wait, he'll be back. And then you see him walking into the town with his brother over his shoulder, and he smiles.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, he does love Meryl.
You're right.
And that's
you got
how
it
it
at the very
is.
end.
The opening is left. I'm sorry, the ending is left open. But what I'm really happy about is, unlike Cowboy Bebop, he wasn't killed off.
Right, because we were worried that's how it was going to end.
Yeah, we wish it hadn't happened to Wolfwood either, but that's the way we went. So, if you've seen Trigun, whether it was originally or sometime between now and then, let us know in the comments.
Right.
Do you love it as much as we do? Do you think it's now going to be one of those anime that stays on your list forever? Because it's going to stay on mine.
Right.
And if you haven't seen it, it's available on Crunchyroll.
Yes. And I believe it was on Tubi for a time. You had to see if it's still there. But mostly it's Crunchyroll.
And so you know there's a movie that came out after the series ended.
Yes.
Yes, we will be watching that and reviewing that very soon. So stay tuned, because there's no way we can end it without seeing the movie. It looks like they took a lot of inspiration from Cowboy Bebop, where each had a series and each had a movie.
Yeah.
They mirrored each other.
Right.
And the characters were very similar, even though there's two different writers. With one group, Cowboy Bebop, it was a group of writers like Man of Action.
Mm-hmm.
And then here is one writer. But somehow they managed to have a lot of similarities in these two series. But they both, as I read earlier, they stand on their own. They're not the same series. So if you've seen Cowboy Bebop and not Trigun, you really got to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
And the same in reverse. Both are excellent. Both are award-winning. Both should stay in your anime collection forever and ever.
Right. And if you haven't already, subscribe for updates and reviews, favorite anime series, anime shows, and all things animation.
Yes, and thank you so much for joining us for this. We're really excited about it. And we also plan on reading the manga. It looks so cool.
Yes, it does.
You should have seen one of the covers. It looks really, really cool. And I actually can't wait to read the manga as well, to see what was adapted and what was not adapted for the anime.
Right. So, thank you so much for watching Mask Entertainment.
And Mom Entertainment.
Have a toon-tastic day.
Peace.
And reporters sitting flashing lights, trying to walk around, man, who the hell are you? What you wanna do? Well, man, it's on you. Man, it's on you. With her in my dreams, she was my queen. A castle in the mountaintops, rivers and streams.